Enhancement cores. Those are a thing. They're a thing that people do not like being attached to Infusion. Bungie has commented on the state of enhancement cores after many complaints from the community wanting them to be removed from Infusion. I'm just going to rip the band-aid off right now. There aren't any changes scheduled as of now for this season. In the Season of Opulence, Season 7, Scrapper bounties, those bounties you randomly get when dismantling gear that reward enhancement cores, are going to be retired, and in their place will come daily and weekly gunsmith bounties that give enhancement cores, among other things. The goal is to provide a more direct path to enhancement cores. The reason things are the way they are is because, quote, the goal of the infusion system is to create an impactful feeling of progression when you increase the power of an item you enjoy using. An infusion system with no scarcity around the materials would diminish this impact, unquote. Which is very true, it would diminish the impact. Very quick thought on the changes. It's something, I suppose. I don't think you really need to get rid of the scrapper bounties at all, unless those gunsmith bounties are just going to be raining down cores like crazy. But let's talk about the root of the issue. Basically, Bungie wants it to be hard to level up. That's the deal. And to be fair, they said that quite a while ago, that they wanted to make getting to max power a much bigger deal than it used to be. And I would say they achieved that goal. However, I think a lot of people would argue that cores are simply too scarce right now, but making them too available goes against what Bungie would like for Infusion, what they just said. It is very true that picking and choosing what to infuse is a meaningful decision if you're low on cores, but it's maybe not the most fun decision to make if you're low on cores. You could just be really patient, saving your junk items and staying at a lower level until you start to get really high level infusion fodder. You can also save a lot of costs by infusing the same item with a higher level into itself whenever you get it. It only costs Glimmer when you do that. Infusing items that are of 5 or fewer power upgrade is basically a waste of materials, and if you're infusing constant small upgrades, that's a really bad idea. I absolutely do think that part of the community's problem with Infusion is that some people just don't know how to infuse efficiently, instead opting to infuse everything all the time. No, a 7 power level upgrade on one item is not going to do a whole lot for your overall level. But you could also argue that maybe we shouldn't have to resort to these tricks in the first place, and I see your point. Back in year 1 of Destiny 2, I think Infusion could have been the way that it is now because there were no random rolls or armor perks. The entire point of the game was to hit the power cap, and then there was basically nothing else. Enhancement cores maybe would have made sense there. If we didn't have a power cap increase every 3 months, I think it would be more forgiving because for a good amount of people, by the time they hit max power, the next cap increase is coming, so they never really stop leveling and never really get a chance to accumulate cores. But now, we have those things. We have random armor and weapon rolls and masterworking. We have other factors that play into the gearing process. Hitting max power is no longer the only goal. Getting those god roll weapon and armor sets is the goal, which takes a long time to do, especially if you're a casual player. So now, if you don't have a huge stockpile of cores laying around, you're going through 2 lengthy processes. Of course, once you have all the gear that you want, one of these is a non-factor, but getting those god roll armor sets can take a while depending on the kind of player you are. Not to mention the double dip of masterworking items. A weapon costs, like 17 cores to max out one weapon, and masterwork weapons are hugely impactful on gameplay. Masterworking items should arguably be a more impactful thing that Bungie starts pushing if it's going to be as expensive as it is, even if masterworking armor is way too expensive for the impact it creates, which is another problem. Cores could be used for other more interesting functions in their current form, like maybe re-rolling exotic armor rolls, similar to how Glass Needles used to, as just an example. I used to be on the pro enhancement core for Infusion train because it made leveling not this thing that you just breeze through. It made getting to max power a big deal because for a really long time, it was really easy to get max level. And to be fair, it still is, it just takes a while. I've since relaxed my feelings on this a bit because I, and I'm sure many of you, don't really view max power as the big goal anymore, even if it is one, sort of. I don't think people really get that feeling of, wow, that player's max power, they must be really good or play a lot or whatever. Half the time, it's probably more like, wow, that player's max power, I guess their RNG was really good due to their drops being in the right slots at the right time. Not to mention that there's so many powerful rewards in the game now anyway. It's an impressive feat, but we as the community don't really view it as one. At least I don't. There's not even a triumph for hitting max power in a new season or anything. The feeling of achievement should come from having a fully masterwork set of weapons and armor tailored exactly how you want it. There are times where I don't mind just throwing on whatever junk I find because that's the highest level item I could find. Those times are when we get a Taken King or Forsaken-like expansion, where it is somewhat of an expectation that you're going to purge the previous year's items in favor of new ones. But when we're halfway into the year doing these smaller updates, that expectation just isn't there. The previous Dawning was pretty well liked because of how it handled gathering materials. You didn't need to go out of your way to get them, they just kind of dropped while you were out doing things. Of course, if you wanted all of the triumphs, you had to grind extra, but that should be expected. Much like if you want to get 700 quickly or get Godroll armor sets, you'll need to grind more. I think if enhancement cores were implemented in the game in a similar fashion, that would help alleviate the issue, like sort of how Bungie is handling it in Season 7. If you got one core from completing a powerful gear objective, or even every other objective, this would essentially link infusion progression to how often you play the game. You wouldn't always have to resort to some sort of trick, but one core per powerful or every other powerful would hopefully not give you so many that you're just swimming in cores like a lot of dedicated players are currently experiencing. While my 2006 World of Warcraft brain says just get out there and farm some cores, people don't want that to be part of the gameplay experience, and for a decent reason. Farming materials isn't really that fun. It's why you can just straight up buy them at the Spider. What I suggested is sort of what Bungie is doing with the Gunsmith bounties, daily and weekly bounties that will reward cores. If these are as simple as kill 50 enemies, generate 30 orbs of light, and things like that, depending on how many cores they reward, this will definitely help the situation. How much it'll help is to be determined. One very good thing with this season is the Clan Level 4 perk, where getting your Clan XP powerful reward also gives 7 enhancement cores per character, so 21 cores a week if you do your Clan XP on all characters. Clan XP was changed so that it's not strictly bounty based anymore. You can just get your Clan XP by doing stuff. This is almost a Dawning-esque way of going about core distribution. The only issue is that, well, you need to be in a level 4 clan. The spider bounties, on the other hand, sorry, but no one's doing those. No regular casual player is going to spend the time farming ghost fragments to then get bounties and then do those for a single core each. The gunsmith bounties using gunsmith materials does introduce another double dip situation though, as you use gunsmith materials for mods, which are just insanely rare for what some of them end up doing. We'll revisit that particular topic when Season 7 hits, if need be. And yet again, Datto, you dodged the main question. Should cores be removed from infusion? I think it would be alright to either reduce the amount of cores you need to infuse, increase the number of cores available, or just getting rid of it altogether at this point, even if players can catch up really quickly with these new season infusion fodder bounties. It's not the kind of impact players really want to deal with. There are more important things to worry about with endgame gearing that are also much more exciting. Hardcore players, I don't really think care about the power level of casual players at all, either, due to the lack of any sort of a feeling besides relief that they are max level. Being max power matters for Iron Banner and Tier 3 Reckoning, but that's not even a 700 level activity. Oh, and the glamorous world of Nightfall high scoring. Yeah, can't forget about that. There have also been a lot of gripes about how we gear up in Season of the Drifter and Black Armory, in that we're just going back to do the same stuff to level up again, which doesn't really help the cause either. That problem is not going to be solved overnight though. That's all I really got on enhancement cores. If you're on team remove cores from infusion, I'd like to know why. I think over 50% of the feedback I've read has just been remove cores without explaining anything. If you're on team keep the cores, I would also like to know why. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.